Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, closer. What a fantastic crowd. We have a full house. This is going to be an exciting year, I can already tell. Now, 2 years ago, I was just a regular emergency physician. I was working in the ER, seeing patient after patient with chest pain, belly pain, some trauma, some people with real emergencies, and many more people with no real emergency. Today, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur taking my startup, FunBand, to the market. FunBand is a data intelligence platform for amusement parks. We won first place in this competition a year ago. The idea came to us, to my girlfriends and us, at lunchtime. I was a healthcare executive MBA student at the time. I came to a kickoff just like this, and I saw Gina Heitkamp up here. I was impressed by 3 things about Gina. First, she was not an engineer. Second, she was not a software developer. And third, she had won the competition the year before with her unique idea for dolls for middle school girls. So I was inspired, and I entered my half-baked idea into this competition, and over that year, with a lot of help from a lot of wonderful people, saw the idea transformed into a viable venture. That is the most exciting thing about this new venture plan competition, or this new venture competition here at UCI, the transformation of an idea into a viable venture. The biggest lesson that I learned is that this is a process. It's a process that offers tremendous opportunity for growth and hands-on learning. This process does not require that you have a fully developed idea to begin. You don't even need an idea at all. You can join a team that's already working on something. So today, I challenge each and every one of you. Bring your ideas, bring your enthusiasm, bring your passion, and bring your talent. Bring them to this competition and bring them to win. My name is Rahema. I'll be around after. Please come up to me, say hello, and ask me all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahema, for that enthusiastic intro. My name is Hugo Salas. I am the Chief Operations Officer at Sinter Health Technologies. As many of you, I also sat in those same seats 2 years ago when we first started in this competition. It was introduced to us in the BioEngine program at our senior design class in biomedical engineering. And it was essentially for us to win some money so that we could develop our device to what it is today. We didn't win at all the first year that we entered. So we tried it again on the second year, and we got 2 third places, one in Tech Search, which is one of the tracks that you may enter if you're an engineering student. And the other one was in Beale and Butterworth, which is also part of the New Venture business competitions. That money allowed us to develop our device to what it is, our 3rd generation right now. And our focus is that we're providing an affordable therapeutic for diabetic foot ulcers. This is a problem that affects over 700,000 people a year. Most diabetics will have a 25% chance of developing one of these ulcers, and it can lead to amputation if it's not treated correctly. So we are the middleman when it comes to providing a stem cell therapeutic. Diabetics do not have inherently active stem cells. So what we do is we extract a small amount of fat tissue, we process it in our device, and we re-inject that same fat tissue with the newly activated stem cells and other cell subpopulations into the patient to regenerate their tissue and neovascularize the area and improve their fat pad. Again, since we didn't win exactly the big prize money, we continued applying for other grants. We are now recipients of a $300,000 NIH SBIR grant that will allow us to continue our animal studies and further get an FDA approval to get this product to market. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Layla Safavi and I'm with Team Purist, where we developed a technique to use smaller scale nuclear reactors to produce radioactive ingredients that are used to treat cancer. I'm not going to bore you with the details of the technology and lose all of you, But I entered this competition last year because during my graduate studies, we developed some UCI-owned IP, which was one of the technologies that was going to be in TechSearch. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of not only learn about the business aspects of things, but also see if this technology has any business and commercial potential. Just by a show of hands, who here has a science and engineering background? So I was exactly the same as you. I had no idea about anything business related. All the financial business plans and all those things were just weird acronyms to me. All I can tell you is don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Try to learn all these things on your own. I remember leading up to the competition, I was freaking out about putting a business plan together that I could defend and justify, and I went to our neighborhood library and got books on how to develop a business plan and just did it. Another thing that I want to recommend, because I know winning is important to the majority of you probably here right now, use all the resources that are available to you. The Entrepreneur Center, Applied Innovation, all these workshops are there to help you. I'm sure I wouldn't be here today or won the competition if it wasn't for all these great resources that are available. And last but not least, you're always going to have a lot of skeptics and a lot of people that doubt you. Treat that as feedback to grow your idea and address those needs, and don't let that set you back or not want to participate in the competition. I'll be around after the competition, after this event, if you had any questions or would like to talk to me or your idea. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chad Trainer, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Escalate. So we won the poverty alleviation track of the competition this year. So I'm going to start off by just telling you a little story. Hopefully it's not too long-winded about how I became an entrepreneur. So I went to law school in 2005, and my dream was to be a public defender. Anybody here want to go to law school? Come talk to me later and maybe I can talk you out of it, but I'm just joking. So my dream was to be a public defender. And for however cheesy it sounds, I really wanted to be a champion of justice. I wanted to help people. And everything seemed to be going according to plan. I got into the school that I really wanted to get into. I went to University of Virginia for law school. And everything looked bright. I was fortunate enough to go to a top 10 law school, so the employment chances looked good. Everything looked good. And then I graduated right smack in the middle of the global financial crisis in 2008. And I sat for the New York bar. I ended up passing it. But before I even got the results, it was clear what was happening. There was no legal jobs market, let alone public defender jobs, which actually are quite competitive. So what was I going to do then? I ended up going to Russia and found a job out there. I worked there for a year in the nonprofit space, came back, took the California bar, ended up passing that, and looked around for a year and a half for a job. So I started out looking for public defender jobs again, and then I expanded to public interest jobs. And then I just thought, wow, the legal jobs market is so competitive that I have to expand to basically any law job under the sun. And through, I guess you could call it a stroke of luck, after a year and a half, I landed a job as a firm associate. So public defender is here on the legal jobs spectrum. Firm associate is over somewhere beyond the building, somewhere outside. I worked there for a month, and I was absolutely miserable because that's not what I wanted to do with my life. So I ended up going back to Russia again. And this time I worked in marketing, sales, business development, and by the time I got back to the States, I had such a weird resume. The only sphere that my resume really jived with was the startup space. They're like, we appreciate diversity in somebody's resume. We appreciate this guy's risk appetite. So I ended up working in Silicon Valley, then San Francisco. And I absolutely loved the startup space. It is so creative. It is so impactful. But then I got sick of seeing the 20th iteration of a dating app receive millions of dollars in funding. And I thought, what can I do with my own personal experience? And the idea I came up with is I had volunteered extensively throughout law school, and I knew that there's a huge demand on behalf of low-income people for legal help. I also knew, having been a graduate who couldn't find work, that there are a ton of new attorneys out there who can't find work. Their main obstacle is that they lack practical experience. The gig economy is huge now, Airbnb, Uber, so I thought, wow, why not just match these two parties? Attorneys who need practical experience with low-income people who can't afford legal help. And I committed myself to the idea, and I moved in with my mom at the tender age of 35. I embraced that. And I moved to Orange County and got started on it. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. Right after we got into the Wayfinder program, which is an incubator here at UCI, we found out about the New Venture Competition. And when I say we, back then it was my co-founder had just joined. I'd been going at it solo for a while, living in my mom's garage. And finally I had a co-founder. And when we found out about the New Venture Competition, we thought it was the perfect opportunity to start really rocking with our pitch deck, our concept paper. And this has become way too long-winded, so I'm gonna wrap it up now. But basically, what I can tell you about my experience in general is follow your passion. You're not gonna have all the answers. You're never gonna have all the answers. Follow your passion, and even if it's the most unconventional route, if you're very passionate about it, and if it makes sense to you, go for it. And that's what I've done. And the New Venture Competition helped us solidify a lot of our business model. In terms of pointers, I would just say practice, practice, practice. Just practice your pitch over and over and over and over. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm good. Oh my gosh, really? Try it again. Good evening, everybody. That's a little bit better. We'll hopefully get better. My name is David Ochi. For those of you who don't know me, I run the Entrepreneur Center. For those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 4 years, we spell it with an A on purpose. We're anteaters. When we leave Orange County, nobody understands it, but as far as I can tell, we're still in Orange County, so we'll go with it. I'm going to help you get through tonight. You just heard from 4 people who did it. Right? These aren't people who said, "Hey, look, that I'm thinking about doing it." These are people who climbed all the way to the top and won the prizes. Right? So you've been given some insights, and what's even better is you're going to be able to get the chance afterwards to go up and ask them questions, learn about how they did it, some of the techniques they used, all of that. So we're going to barrel through today, but the overview for tonight is we're here to introduce to you what this competition is going to be about and give you all the steps and tools you're going to need to be able to go be the team that wins. Fair enough? We're going to barrel through this quickly. You ready? Can you guys read? Good, next. All right, there are 3 primary objectives to this if you want to get philosophical. One is just to spark an interest in something entrepreneurial. Every single one of you can be an entrepreneur. In academics, where there's studying the full field of entrepreneurship, there used to be a debate about can you actually teach entrepreneurship, or is it just something you're born with? I've never understood how an academic with a PhD studying entrepreneurship and teaching it can argue that you can't teach it. Then what do you do in your classroom all day long with your entrepreneur students? Right? The reality is, of course you can teach it, and this is a mechanism by which you can do that. There's lots of different tools to do that on campus, but this competition in particular is find something that excites you and see if you can take it somewhere. It's actually a big challenge if you really think about it. Find something that interests you and see if you can pull a team together to make it happen. Second is obviously prepare. You're going to learn about stuff. You're going to observe others who've done things. You're going to go through and create everything so that you can apply. And then what you're going to do is figure out how you can create real good experience out of it. This isn't about creating a business plan, submitting it to your professor, and at the end, you'll get a grade and you're done, and wow, look, I have a nice glossy business plan. This is about going out and doing it for real. If you can go and land Mark Zuckerberg on your board of directors in this, go for it. That'll probably help you in scoring, by the way. If you can do that, that's really cool. Dan here will help you get connected to him. Dan's like, no, I won't. All right, so that's the point. The objective is to go through. So I want to bring up somebody that's very important for the Beal Center. You guys know what the Beal Center is? No. Let's try it again. Do you guys know what the Beal Center is? Lie to me, right? Lie to me and tell me you do. It is the center in this building designed specifically for innovation and entrepreneurship. And the faculty director for that is none other than are you the most liked professor in the business school? Heck yeah, you are. All right, come on up, Imran. He's going to tell you a little bit about the recap of what happened last year. And I think a mic is floating around here for you because I won't do this one.
Thank you. All right. Well, this competition is very near and dear to my heart. But there is one aspect, well, it could be one or two aspects actually, that makes me different from every single other person sitting in this room. Can you guess what that is? No? I'll tell you. What is it that makes me different from every other person in this room this evening? I am the most boring and dumb person. Everybody else is more exciting than me, and everyone else is smarter than me. Okay, so incidentally, as an example, the 4 smart, exciting people that talked to you right before I got on stage. Were they exciting? Were they smart? Give them a hand. All right. So what does the most boring and dumb person in the room get asked to do? They get asked to just thank everybody. Right? So here goes. Number one, I sincerely thank each one of you for coming here. It is a privilege for me to see you all in this room here this evening. Give yourself a hand. Second, I'd like to point out that we owe a big debt to, in fact, they are our partners, our equal partners. It's the Beal Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Paul Merage School of Business, in equal partnership with UCI Applied Innovation. And if we have administrators from UCI Applied Innovation, would they please stand up? And you should applaud them as well. Hayley and all. Okay. Third, of course, I would like to thank both David Ochi, who just introduced that last slide to you, and would like to thank from the bottom of my heart the New Venture Competition Committee. This group of people have worked tirelessly for the last 2 years when we completely reworked this entire competition. They came up with rules, they came up with best practices for students, for teams, for coaches, for judges. They benchmarked us with other competitions. I just watched them. They were smarter than me, more exciting, so I just get out of everybody's way and let them do their job. Would the New Venture Competition Committee of the Beal Center stand up, and please, if you could give them a hand? Third, I would also like to thank the Beal Board of Directors and Advisors. I see a few of you in the audience. They have also worked tirelessly in different ways, and they have supported us with their dollars. So not only their dollars, but their brains. And if we could have the board of directors and advisors stand up, and I would ask you to give them a hand. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we would not be standing here if it were not for the Beall Family Foundation, B-E-A-L-L, Beall Family Foundation. And when I talk about the Beall Family Foundation, I get all warm and fuzzy and loosey-goosey. Because the original gift came from Don Beall, but in the last 4 or 5 years, we've been working very closely with Ken Beall, and Ken Beall was a student of mine in 1984 at the Anderson School of Management. And he drew the erroneous conclusion that his spectacular success was because of 2 classes that he took. And so we are the recipients of a big check every year because of that erroneous conclusion. He's not here in the audience, but I would suggest you give him a hand because this is being recorded. Okay, so I'll get done real quick. So I'll just tell you a few statistics. In fact, you can see it right here on the screen. Last year, we had 350 participants form about 90 teams. We have designed between 6 and 10 workshops. So we start out in the month of November. We get done in the month of May. So we ask you sometime in January or February to come up with a concept paper, 2 to 3 pages long. And then in May, we ask you to come up with a pitch deck. So we started out with about 90 teams. In January or February last year, those 90 teams were judged. It went down to about 40 teams. And those 40 teams each got a coach and got to go through all the workshops, which went all the way through from November through May. And finally, they did presentations in May and walked away with about $100,000 in cash and kind. All right, just last 2 points. The experience you gain from doing this is just absolutely amazing. Even if you do not continue, take the worst case scenario that you do not continue. You get done, but you don't continue. You have experience that you can draw on way in the future, some other time in the future. And we are fast moving from a W-2 society, from a W-2 society to a 1099 society. So that experience, and I urge you to get that experience, can turn out to be extremely valuable to you sometime in the future, even if you do not continue. Second, even if you do not continue, if you have something that you're passionate about in life and you get an opportunity to work on it, when you take all these classes and you get all these electrons of information being tossed at you, there are 2 places electrons of information can go. Electrons of information could be tossed out into space, all right, be forgotten forever and ever by you, or they can get into an orbit around your brain, your body, mind, and soul. I urge you to get that nucleus that allows the electrons of information to get into an orbit around your body, mind, and soul. You will retain more of what you are going through, regardless of what that is. All right. Now, that's about experience. My last 2 points are, if you are a Mirage student, and you could be an undergraduate student, or you could be a graduate student, I want you to look at the certificate we have designed, the Beal Center Certificate in Innovation and Entrepreneurship. You can get that certificate for no additional cost, okay? For both undergraduates and graduate students, all you have to do is you have to go through our new venture competition. You don't have to go all the way through. You just have to begin and get to the first step. And then you have to take 2 additional courses. And you can just go to your program here in this school, whichever one you're signed up for, and find out more information about it. Now, if you are not a Mirage School student, if you are a UCI student from a different school other than Mirage, as I said, we welcome you to take our undergraduate courses in innovation and entrepreneurship. We are offering more and more of them. And you can even enroll in our brand new, we have started a brand new minor, undergraduate minor program in innovation and entrepreneurship that you should be aware of. So you can have any major on the UCI campus. It can be in engineering, computer science, biological science, physical sciences, or even art, for that matter. Now you have the opportunity to take a minor in innovation and entrepreneurship. All right? Okay, that's it, I'm done. This is a really exciting evening, and I really encourage you to do 2 things. To participate, regardless of everything. Just do it. Just participate, number 1. And number 2, when you are forming teams, pay attention to non-overlapping competencies. It's not just about doing this with your friends. It's not just doing this with people who live close to you, who live around you. Think of what are the competencies I'm going to need. Talk to people about what are the competencies I'm going to need. And I urge you to start thinking about that and then pick people on the competencies that you need to not only be successful in the venture competition, but to be successful in to turn that idea into a successful business should you decide to pursue it. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. All righty. So you guys all have one of these, right? Of some form or fashion? I think it's time for us to stretch. Here's what we're doing. This is a social media minute. You guys ever done it before? So what you do is you bust out your phone, because you all have been kind of thinking about it anyway, and you've got that text you want to look at. This is your free permission to go and tweet, Snapchat, whatever you want to do. You've got a minute and a half. Use that hashtag. My suggestion is take a picture, a selfie with somebody that's next to you. Take that and use the hashtag and maybe make it a video where you say, hey, thanks to the Beal Family Foundation, or I'm going to win this, or whatever it is. Use that hashtag. You've got 90 seconds. Are you ready? You're down to 88. Go. And if you're standing over there, you can find your way in during this. Come on in. All right, you got about 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Make sure you use this hashtag, UCI New Venture.
So in some ways, it's a competition with the folks who were here last year in the room. We'll count the number of posts last year, and I want you all to win, so get those cameras out.
All right, so of course you can still do this. You wanted to check your text anyway. We're going to move on. You're welcome to continue typing in, get the hashtag right, all that kind of thing. We're going to start talking about some structure, because many of you want to know, how is it exactly that I'm going to win this, and what is the process, and all that kind of fun stuff. So you may have heard them talk about tracks last year. And one of the things we created a couple years ago was the idea of tracks, so that you don't have businesses that are completely different from each other, up against each other, and it's just really hard as judges. I can tell you, it's very, very difficult to compare apples and elephants. It's really, really hard. So we now have 5 tracks, and we're actually going to have somebody introduce the 5th track. 4 tracks are from the original, and those basically are consumer products. So these are physical goods that a consumer might use. Consumer services, this is more like what you might think of as like an app, or something where you're providing a service and a monthly fee or whatever it might be. The third one are business products and services. So these are the type of things where you'd be servicing or taking care of a business-based client. And then the fourth one is life sciences, and that's a big bucket of you're curing cancer and you're doing all sorts of crazy stuff and you need FDA approvals. Like comparing that with some app that's going to help you date, that's why we have tracks. Right? Now, each track, what makes it cool is there's a first prize winner in each one of the tracks. If we get enough teams in a track, which we've been able to do each year, but just in case, we have a little star on the second place, which is we got to have at least 8 teams make the cut in that track to have a second place. My hunch is, with this many people here, we are not going to have a hard time finding 8 teams. So there'll be a first place and a second place. We haven't disclosed yet exactly how the prize money will work and all that. We're still begging more donors for money. In case there's a nice donor in here, we'd love to have your money to share with these nice, wonderful people using hashtags and everything. So please feel free to donate. Imran's taking checks up front here. You're welcome to interrupt the whole thing if you're handing checks over. All right? Okay, so this is the concept. Now, like I said, we added a track, and I don't want to describe it even though it's up on the board. I actually want to pull up a very important professor. Richard, do you want to come up and give them an idea? We have merged this into a separate track, which I think is going to really prove beneficial.
All right.
It's all you.
Well, thanks a lot. It's great to be here. My name's Richard Matthew. I'm the director of the Blum Center for Poverty Alleviation. It's part of a UC-wide initiative that works to harness the ingenuity, the passion, the knowledge of the UC system to poverty alleviation in California, across the country, and around the world. And this is a big challenge. Right today, there are 43 million people in this country living in poverty, according to official statistics, and another twice that many, about 92 million, hovering just above the poverty line. If we relaxed our understanding of poverty to include things like access to education and training, reliable transportation, adequate health care, legal services, financial consulting, there would be a lot more people living in poverty in this country who would be officially recognized as such. So anytime we can reduce one of the barriers that keep people in poverty and make navigating out of it so difficult, every time we can improve access to healthcare, transportation, affordable housing, legal services, and so on, we make the whole project of poverty alleviation better. The government does a few things, and it does them sometimes well, sometimes not well, but it does only a little bit. There's an enormous and vibrant and important nonprofit sector, which does a great deal in this country. It's critical in this country, but it is always looking for funding. When we can take what is one of the great strengths of this country, its entrepreneurial culture and spirit, and tie that to one of the great challenges of the 21st century, poverty and inequality, then we have an opportunity to really transform things. And we've been doing this competition with the Beal Center for the past couple of years. It has been fantastic. We had so many great ideas last year. We were able to support 3 of them. You heard from one today. They've all done incredibly well. The potential of harnessing ingenuity, innovation, passion, to things that are profitable, that make sense from a business perspective, but also improve communities, improve opportunities for those 43 million people, 1.6 billion people around the world. That's really exciting. So I want to just thank, they're not here today, they couldn't be here, but Paul and Dimple Dillon, who provide financial support for this track. And so join me in maybe in thanking them. And I look forward to some great ideas. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Richard.
All right, so that's a brand new track that has been put in place that's designed to get it so that some of the people who are more social enterprise driven are able to have fair judging in their own category, because it's not all about the bottom line sometimes. Like, right, Chad knows that, look, he wants to help people who can't afford legal fees. And has anyone here hired an attorney? Anyone here hire an overpriced attorney? Yeah, they're all the same, right? It's overpriced. That, if you're in the position where you're worried about food, you can still run into legal issues, even no fault of your own, and you're completely disenfranchised from the legal system. And that's why Chad's got such a passion for what he's doing, and that's why he did so well in this in the Blum Center competition last year. So what we've got, if we can go back one slide, you'll notice there's this horizontal thing that goes across the bottom. There's a specialty award that Applied Innovation has put together. And we've got a wonderful young lady named Hayley who's going to give us a description of how you might be able to bypass all the people who are coming up with cool inventions, and they're figuring out how to patent it, and they're going to figure out how to create all these IP barriers, and now nobody's going to. They've done all that for you. You take a patent that's been developed on campus by a professor, and you utilize that patent as part of your team, and you can win additional money on top of the normal track money, just based on that. So Hayley's here to tell us all about it. Give her a warm welcome. She deserves it.
Thanks, David. So my name is Hayley Young, and I'm the Assistant Director of the New Venture Group at UCI Applied Innovation. One of the main things that Applied Innovation does is manage the entire intellectual property portfolio of the university. It's really our goal to see the inventions that come out of UCI labs and actually have them go to industry where they can make real impact. So to try to encourage that type of commercialization activity, we sponsor a track within the New Venture competition called Tech Surge. So if you leverage intellectual property as part of the business idea that you're entering into any of these other 5 tracks, then you additionally make yourself eligible for 4 awards and over $25,000 in prize money that can be used to further develop your idea after the competition in our Wayfinder Incubator program. Other benefits to participating in this track is that you get hand-picked mentors from our Experts in Residence network, additional workshops that are tailored to intellectual property, as well as access to the staff and great resources at Applied Innovation. To browse the available technologies that we have, you can visit the Applied Innovation website and look at the available technologies database. And as David said, we also have a list of technologies curated specifically for this competition that are primed for that we will share with anyone who expresses interest in Tech Surge. Overall, this is really a great opportunity to try to commercialize real UCI inventions. Last year, we had over 25 teams in the Tech Surge track, many of which are still actively pursuing their ventures, so it really is an excellent launching pad. Overall, if you are even remotely interested in Tech Surge, please get in contact with either me or Steve Wynn, who's here up front. We'll be here after the presentations today. We have a handout for you with next steps. If we aren't able to get face-to-face with you tonight, please email me and we can provide you the information. But we look forward to talking with you and hopefully working with you. So, thank you.
Thank you. So before we switch the slides here, do you remember what Layla did? She came up, she talked about her concept. Do you remember it? What was it? Nuclear reactor something or other, right? How many of you starting today, if you came up with this idea of creating a whole brand new concept for taking radioactive material that's going to be used for cancer treatments and stuff, that you think in May you could say, yep, we have a nuclear reactor we can use? Any of you think you can pull that off? Anyone know the last time a nuclear reactor was authorized in the state of California? I don't know, but it was like in the 70s or something. Like bell-bottom pants were popular, right? She got that barrier to entry by utilizing IP from the University of California, Irvine. You may not know it, we have a nuclear reactor here, and she got a huge barrier to entry that made her incredibly competitive because of that kind of access, right? Now, that might not be exactly what you go with. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of patents and IP that you can use. I'm just mentioning that as a winner found something, found a nugget, and said, I can make a real business out of this, and it's been cruising ever since. All right? So I highly recommend you take a look at TechSurge. Plus, it gives you a gob more money. Why would you just compete in a track? Why not at least look at using something? If you can find something you like that you'd like to work on, run with it. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about the requirements. You have to have an original idea. It means you can't steal it. Kind of. We're not really going to know, but it's got to be yours. Come up with it yourself. Don't Google. Good business idea. It's probably not a very good way to do it. Here's the key. It has to be something you have been working on no later or no earlier than January of this year. Meaning if you had been tinkering with it and 5 years ago and you've been working on it for 5 years, that doesn't work. It needs to be a startup, right? This is supposed to be new. Now, does this mean that you can't work on it if it was something that you competed in last year? Well, if you thought of it, you're perfectly fine with that date, right? You say, hey, I competed last year, you can compete again. It can be the exact same idea. Can you compete in the third year? No, the math doesn't work out. So you have to have come up with the idea. My recommendation, talk amongst your peers, talk with the mentors, all of that, and come up with an idea that makes a lot of sense. Little tidbit, focus on the customer problem. If you just say how cool your idea is, you're not going to get very far. If you tell me how you're going to solve a problem for somebody, and that's going to make them want to pay you, now people become very interested in that. So find problems, solutions will come afterwards, right? Ideally, it needs to be in a pre-incubator form, right? Meaning it's not something that you're already well developed. You'll see there's a requirement in there that you cannot have received financial backing by a professional organization exceeding $10,000. Now, if your mother came along and said, gosh, Imran, you are just the best. Oh, wait, no, it was you, right, Chad? Chad, I love what you're doing. I'm going to hand you money and free rent. Does that count? Unless his mother is like a professional VC and made him sign a term sheet and made him do all this stuff, he got a percentage of the company, everything, probably not. That's fine. That sort of thing's fine. If you put money into it, your prototypes, whatever, perfectly fine. It just can't be institutional money or professional investors coming in, right? Now, participation, it's open to all UCI graduate and undergraduate students, right? Can a UCI faculty member be a part of it? Good, we're kind of still awake, some of you. Is it open to UCI alumni? Yeah. How many of you guys are alums? Do you think this group that's got their hands up has access to resources, experience, and a network that you might not have as a 19-year-old undergrad? Raise your hand again if you're an alum. Those are people you want to get on your team. Don't think twice about asking. Just say, hey, what are you working on? That'd be cool. I'd love to work with you. I don't even know you, but let's chat. Right? Go for it. Teams that have experience on them tend to do better. You don't have to be a purely student team. I encourage you to look at MBA candidates, look at MD students, look at alums. You can form a team that works. There's a 4-member minimum, but a maximum of 6. So between 4 and 6 is your target. And then, of course, 2 of the team members must be registered as students at UCI. Make sense? Any questions on that? Concerns? Issues? All right, there's a bunch of phases to this, namely 2, but we're going to only talk about phase 1 tonight because that's all that really matters. You're going to do a presentation at the end, but if this is your first target, you're going to have to submit a 3-page concept paper by February 20th. Is that next week? No, you need time to form a team and go through all this, and we're going to talk a bit about that. Find a problem, create a solution and value proposition that fixes that problem, right? Come up with a target market. If you have some cool little gizmo gadget for a cell phone, don't say, my market is everyone with a cell phone. No, it's not, because not everyone with a cell phone is going to buy whatever your gizmo gadget is. There is a niche. It might be big, but there's a niche, there's a target group you want to go after. If that is all students, great, narrow that down to a geography, a major, whatever it is, right? Try to get narrow rather than broad. We want to know you can go broad, but focus initially on being a targeted niche. You'll have to tell us about your market size and how you're going to validate that that market actually exists. You have to have some sort of clear competitive edge. Is having access to nuclear material maybe kind of sort of a competitive advantage? Probably, right? That's so cool, by the way. When she first said, I said, "What, you have what, access to what?" Like, you don't carry it, right? I mean, you know. Anyway, how are you going to make money? Whatever your idea is, you got to find a way to make money. Now, if you're in the social enterprise track, how important is the making money part? It's still important. You need to be sustainable. Is it as important? Not as important, because we expect that you're also creating the other parts of the triple bottom line. You're not just making money, right? You're helping the planet or helping people, right? So we expect that you might sacrifice profit to be able to achieve those other goals. You need to obviously have evidence that will make it believable. This is where a lot of people trip up. They make statements, or they just tell us this is why people are going to buy this. They don't provide any evidence as to why they believe that that's actually true. It's going to be a lot about evidence. We as judges constantly say they didn't show any evidence that such and such. And then finally, team capability. Show us that you have a killer team, that this is the team that if you could put the money into anyone working on this project, you guys are the ones that we want to put the money into. Make sense? All right, so key dates. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the key is we're going to let you guys get through the holidays. In January, there's going to be a mixer as well as a workshop on business model canvas. Then there's 2 more workshops before your actual papers are due. When's the paper due? February 20th. Is that next week? No, you've got time, and you got some workshops to help you get ready for it. Right? And then, of course, you'll have your concept paper results that will be delivered. We will meet with every single team to discuss the judge's feedback on your paper. How many teams were there last year that you mentioned? Like 89 or? Yes, 89. 89 teams. We had 89 meetings last year to meet with teams to tell them this is what the judges said about your work. That's how important it is that you be able to get the feedback. Whether you make the cut or don't, the feedback is there for you. Now let's assume you make the cut, because all of you guys are, right? All of you guys are going to make the cut. You're going to form the exact number of teams. It's all going to be perfect. The people who aren't here are the ones who are going to lose. Then we're going to deliver the results. Then we're going to work with you on 2 more workshops, a pitch development one, and what you'll see is there's a midpoint check. This is where we're actually going to give you like a mini chance to sit with some judges and do a little bit of what you're going to do on the final presentation day, so we can beat you up early, so that when you actually do it for real, you're in a better position. You're better prepared for it. Right? And then, of course, May 18th is a Friday. It'll be an all-day event. You'll pitch at one point if you make the cut, and then you'll have an award ceremony in the evening. Make sense? Questions on the date? By the way, Megan, we're putting all of this up on the site, right?
It'll be updated.
It'll be up. So thank you for taking pictures. I should have smiled more. But yeah.
Would you say a few words about who's got green badges versus...
We're going to. Almost. Thank you for the reminder, though. Yeah. I think we're good with his, right? It's all you then.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks everyone for turning out tonight, because this is amazing crowd. Last year, I think we had 260 people register at this time, and we had 350 today who were registered. So we're really thrilled about it. I want to see a show of hands. Who competed last year in the competition? I'm sure there's some of you here. And you're coming back for more? Okay, well, more power to you. So we've had a lot of teams that they haven't done well the first go around, but the second time they came back and they won. So I forget who it was tonight. I think Hugo who talked about that. Anyway, so this is a competition, right? So let's talk about how are you going to win this thing, okay? Because there are certain things that do work and certain things that don't work. So this is the 5th year I've been involved in this, and what I love about this competition is that all of you guys out there, guys and gals, you're the dreamers. You're the next generation that is going to bring all the new ideas forward. Folks like myself, okay, we've got gray hair and everything, but we have the know-how, and when you marry the 2 of those things together, it's powerful. all right? So that's why it's really key, and we're going to talk about that in a second, why it's good to have outside mentors, people who can see things that you're not seeing, okay? So, you know, I've been in this game for a long time. I've spent 35 years in the technology field, and when I graduated from college, PCs were just coming out, and so I started selling those. And so I've seen technology come a long, long way in those 35 years. So when I started off, this is what we had. We had punch cards, people. This is pieces of paper, and they contained 80 characters each. And God forbid you spindle or mutilate or get them out of sequence, right? And then a couple years later, suddenly these really cool things came out. I got to get out of my pocket because it's kind of big. These floppy disks, and we thought this was a godsend. My gosh, there was 640K of data on this floppy disk. And you had to feed these into your computer, just like you feed checks into an ATM, okay? One at a time, very slowly. It might take 4 or 5 of these, and it might take you an hour just to install one program on a PC. But you know what? It got really exciting because a couple years later, we came out with these, okay? And these held 1.44 megabytes of data, okay? So as a business person, we were thrilled because those didn't fit in pockets very well, but this fit right in your pocket. So it was really nice and convenient to carry around with you. And so that's in the early days. But in the picture up there, I've been fortunate to be involved with lots of technologies. I've launched thousands of products over the years. Technology is my passion. I love what it can do. I love having fun with it. Up there, I'm holding the first digital camera, color digital camera. My team launched this in 1994 at Logitech. Amazingly, we folded the business 2 years later because we couldn't give them away, hardly. Okay, and today I look out there and every single person is a photographer and videographer all the time. So that's how far technology can come. And those cards I was showing you, it took a room full of computers just to process those cards. Today, this has far more capability than that room full of computers. So again, when you think about going from the cards to this, it's pretty darn amazing. And so I can only imagine what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years. But I know one thing for certain, a lot of cool ideas are going to come out of here. And a lot of you in this room are going to be very successful. But it's going to take a lot to get there. And how do you get there? So first of all, Imran talked about this. You need to form a really well-rounded team. Again, I know it's tempting to go grab your friends, right? It's great, you know, to have a whole team of engineers, right? No, because those teams they typically don't win. Because in any business, you need a well-rounded team. You need those people who can develop the product. You need those people who can figure out on the other side of the coin how to market and sell that product. And you also need people in between who know how to run operations and count the money and make sure that product is where it needs to be. Okay, so typically you need to, I would go out of your way to try and find people, and tonight's a great night to do that, who bring different characteristics or areas of expertise to the table. Find good mentors. My gosh, you get a lot here tonight you can pick from, and if you can't find one here tonight, well, Hayley talked about applied innovation. We've got 500 EIRs, experts in residence here, okay? How many people have been to Applied Innovation, or the Cove, as we call it? It's over there on the corner of Bison and California. There's a Starbucks there, thank God. But anyway, it's a wonderful facility. Go to their website. They have tremendous programs going on all the time. That's where we'll probably hold some of the competition. I'm not sure at this point, but there's a treasure trove of resources over there. So take advantage of it. Do your homework, folks, okay? Just don't you have this idea, you put together a plan that sounds kind of nice. Do your homework, because if you don't, someone else is going to, okay? And by doing your homework, that doesn't mean looking at it from one perspective. It means looking at your idea, your concept from 360 degrees, okay? Hayley talked about leveraging the campus resources, again, applied innovation. We have the Entrepreneur Center. David's a great guy, right? He works with thousands of students throughout the year. They're a great resource. They'll help you whiteboard your way through your idea and help you pinpoint flaws or holes or help you make it better. And last but not least, and hopefully you can tell this from me, is you need to have that passion. Okay, and a lot of people in this room have talked about that tonight, but that really is a key ingredient. You can have a really boring product, okay? It can be really dry, But guess what? If you have excitement when you're talking about that idea, it's going to come through and people are going to listen to you. It's contagious. All right, so enough from the old guy. I'd like you to hear from one of your peers what their tips are for success. And I'd like to invite my good buddy Simon Liu to the stage. One thing Simon's probably not going to tell you, I think he's the only two-time NVC winner. So I worked with him, 2 years ago when you and Rihema won the track for the consumer products. And last year you won with a different team and a new product. So anyway, Simon, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. So I have to say that luck really played a very strong element. So luck should be 5% of the work, and as Dan mentioned, you have to do 95% of those work by true hard work. So first thing I want to suggest to you guys is open to idea and suggestion, because when you came up with an idea, it's something that you may figure out during shower, something that you are driving on the road from here to LA, you just came up with an idea. But there's a lot of flaws around it, and maybe you are not aware of it. So as you form your team, you could find an engineer, you could find a financial person, accounting person, a lawyer person, and they will provide feedback and be very open to those ideas. And you slowly refine your idea from a concept towards an actual product that will make money. So an example that I can give is when we were going through our plan, we kind of like, well, this lady told us about this particular company, go research about it. And we were 2 months into the pitch, and we realized that there is this existing company that did exactly what we are doing on our pitch deck. We'd be like, oh my gosh, we just burned out 4 months. We need to start everything from scratch. So again, play your student card. The student card is amazing. Call up someone that works in your local facility and say, hey, I'm a UCI student. I would like to ask you a certain question. They will be always open to answer your question because you are a student. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to force them to give you anything, but you are a student. You're just there excited to learn. Second thing that I would suggest you guys to do is take a big picture view. There's a lot of work that need to get done to have a good pitch, have a good plan. Think about all the steps that you need to do. David gave us a great kind of like due dates. Make sure that you put it on an Excel file. Remind all your teammates. Put it on your calendar, letting them know that, hey, this thing is about to due in 2 weeks. How far are we? Are we hitting our milestone? The third thing I would suggest you guys to be realistic. If you came out with an idea to make a flying car, do you have $1 million to fund for it? If you do have $1 million to fund for it, how many kidneys are you going to sell? Be realistic in terms of like, how are you going to kick off the startup idea? How are you going to make it possible? Again, convince yourself before you try to convince someone else, because people are holding on to their money. They're not going to give it to you just because you have a good idea. You have to be an actionable idea. Do the work that no one else wants to, because when you walk into a meeting, everyone is burned out. I'm used to be a FEMBA student. I will get out of a meeting and I have to do homework, project, class, and I have to do a new venture competition at 9 o'clock to 2 in the morning. Again, sleep is overrated. Buy a case of Red Bull from Amazon, go to Costco, I can help you guys out. You can sleep when you're done with school. You can sleep when your startup become IPO and got purchased. Most of the successful entrepreneur that I talk to, they barely sleep. Most of them maybe sleep about 3 to 4 hours. And I always remind them to say, you may want to get more sleep. I can see that the blood is popping on their vein. So do the work that no one else wants to do may basically mean that when you go into a meeting, come up with a sandbox. Basically say that we have 2 hours. This is 4 or 5 items that we want to get over, we want to get done with. Make sure hold everyone accountable. Bring the energy, as Dan mentioned, everyone is burned out. I'm exhausted, I have exam tomorrow, but we have to turn in this pitch paper tomorrow. Again, be the person who say, hey, let's get this done. Here, a can of Red Bull, here, a can of Monster. I don't work for any one of those companies, but I drink them a lot. So ultimately, be passionate. Do not give up on your idea. Again, you may run into, Google is, again, a trap, because when you Google something, there's always going to be a company that pop out. But it's good to understand your competitor. Know what they are doing and know what they are not doing. And an example that I have is I just pick up the phone, call 30 Orange County clinics and say, are you using any type of electronic software that helped you fill up insurance form? 27 out of 30 of them do not have that software, even though there's a company that do exactly that on the East Coast. So again, that is our differentiation factor. And again, as you go through the workshop, David have great program that will walk you through how to solidify your differentiation factor, how to come up with a financial model. I want you to take home with a message and say, be passionate and never give up. Even though you do not have an idea, by the way, I won twice, but both of them are not my idea. I'm just part of a team player to get them all excited and give up the Red Bull. So again, as a person who have an idea, value those who work for you because, again, everyone is putting in sweat equity. Everyone wants this idea to be successful together. Treat them with respect, and again, pull the team together and make it work and never give up and be passionate.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks to all these folks. But there's one aspect about Simon which I would like to let everybody know about. So yeah, he won the competition twice, right? And it wasn't even his own idea, both times. Okay. Now, as if that was not enough, he comes over to the Beale Center and requests a meeting with me sometime in the summer. And he says, I won the competition twice. How can I give back, Imran? I was amazed. And I said, well, you can give back by being part of this new venture competition committee. We could use your brains. You could inspire the new students. You could inspire the innovators and entrepreneurs of tomorrow. We could use your brain. He says, how else? I says, well, I feel a little backward to ask you for cash. So he said, how much do you need? Well, I'm asking people for donations of $5,000 each. He said, well, you know what? My company has a matching program. Sign me up for $5,000. So give him a hand.
By the way, that $5,000, anyone else who wants to donate $5,000, they're welcome to. Okay, so I run the Entrepreneur Center. By the way, is anyone's butt sore? Are you getting tired of sitting? Yeah, my butt's sore and I'm not even sitting, right? So we're gonna barrel through this. Everyone should have gotten one of these. If you didn't, they're outside in the lobby. Inside, if you unfold this thing, over the summer, we took the time to figure out what is everything we can think of that UCI does to help entrepreneurs. I don't expect you to be able to read this, but it's a lot. There's over 45 things that you have access to that are designed to help support, in one way or another, entrepreneurs. If you don't realize how unique this is on this campus compared to campuses around the country and the world, you really don't comprehend how unique it is.
Can you read a few?
There's this thing called the Beale Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. That's one of them, right? There's a new venture competition. It's broken down into categories, but they're basically academics, funding, competitions, startup incubation, startup services, and group/events. There's a lot available to you. Now, how do you figure out where to go and what to do? This is a long list, what applies and what doesn't apply. That's what we're here for. We used to be in this tiny little 2,000 or 200 square foot place. We just moved to the old alumni house, the Banning House. We're literally 100 meters from here. So we're right in your backyard now. There's a map located here. The other place you can go that's very helpful is the Cove, which has a Starbucks next to it, which is great. We kind of do too, though, so we're pretty close on that. Starbucks is like a necessary part, along with Red Bull. So my recommendation is come in. We're a free service to help you win the competition. Everyone laughs at this, but it's the truth. The teams that have won every year for the last 4 years have all the winning teams have come in for consultations at the Entrepreneur Center. I'm not saying because you come in you're going to win, but it just so happens that every team that has won has come in for consultations. So whether that's coincidence or not, it's up to you. But we're located just on the other side of the walkway over here. So we're happy to help you. Let's get them out to the fun part. What's next? Form a team. That's what tonight's going to be about now that we're going to get you out of your seats. You're going to form a team. You're going to come up with a solution. And then you're going to choose a track. Do you have to do any of that tonight? No. You've got till when to do the concept paper? February 20th. So now all of you have a color badge that's slightly different. There's 2 of them, and some of you have blue because you're cool and special, right? These are people who are looking to join a team. If you have a green one, look down and go, oh, look, a green one. you're looking to join a team, or at least that's what you told us when you came in. If you've changed your mind, I guess we could get you a new badge. If you have one of these, this is somebody who says, hey, I want to start a team. I maybe have an idea, or I've got a route that I want to work off of. Let's chat. Now, do you have to have an orange and a green talk to each other? Can 2 or 3 of these people talk to each other? Can 2 or 3 of these people talk to each other? Yeah, but feel free to mix and match the way you want to. Tonight, afterwards, the whole point is for you to meet other people. It's step 1 of this. You're going to go through, figure out your track, figure out if you're going to use some sort of tech surge. Say, hey, we can use IP. It might take you back over to brainstorming a solution. That's fine, right? And then, of course, you're going to go through and learn and go through the workshops and everything. Make sense? So the next part of this, if I'm not mistaken, is to tell you a little bit about one last thing, and then we're going to get you out of here. On November 15th, same place right here, literally a week from now, we're going to be doing something called Antsgiving. Yeah, I know, Entrepreneur Center, Antsgiving, it all just starts to become antsy, right? We're going to have an Antsgiving panel that's going to be talking about socially driven enterprises. It happens to be the same day that there's a competition due date called Big Ideas. Berkeley is full of big ideas, some of which are actually good, but they have a competition called Big Ideas that is designed to help entrepreneurs focus on getting social value out of their businesses. It's taking the idea of just going out and being a greedy capitalist pig, there's nothing wrong with that, but also saying, hey, why don't we figure out a way to be a greedy capitalist pig and help people or help the planet, right? So they're taking social impact ventures and helping them grow. So if you'd like, you can still apply. If you have an idea that's socially driven, maybe nonprofit, maybe it's for profit, but helps people along the way or helps the environment, go outside and meet with, I'm sure that Ruth would be interested in meeting with you guys. I'm here to chat with you guys. The applications are due in a week. Can you get it done in a week? Absolutely. It's not that killer of an application. All right, so they're due in a week, but we're going to have a panel here speaking specifically about social entrepreneurship and that sort of thing. So with that, I think the last slide asks you, do you have any questions? Yes?
Speak about the reception, food and drink.
There's food and drink. I have no idea what's out there, but it's better than what's in here. All right, so here's my challenge to you as you guys get up to go out. Walk away today with 5 new contacts. People you do not know, walk away. Even if you don't think you'll work with them, get their contacts so you can always build your network. Thank you for coming. Thank you to all the speakers for your help. Good luck this year, and we'll see you soon. God, yay.